science coach. Yes, Mr. Fosco.
Hi, I'm Vince Fosco. I'm the elementary science coach.
And then introducing Mr. Spellman.
Hello, everyone. I'm Deshaun Spellman. I am the Zoom guru or consultant for the upcoming STEM Expo. I was with you all last year, if any of you participated. So I'm happy to be back.
We're very happy to have you back too. It's the only way we could make this work, especially because we've got two different groups. So let's kind of talk about this year. We upped the ante a little bit as far as, making this program work. Oops, there I was trying to, my apologies. I should have had this ready to go. Okay. Not off to a great start. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So the purpose of our presentation tonight is to provide you guys with updates and resources. We want to make you feel comfortable about participating in the STEM Expo, and we want you to feel comfortable regardless of the format in which you are participating. Meaning that we want you, sorry, making sure I'm recording here. We want to make sure that you guys kind of have an idea of what's going to happen. We also want to give you some, if you're doing this virtually, we want to make sure that you've had some practice using webinars so you know what it looks like. We're going to also ask for volunteers to be promoted to panelists like we are, so you can see how that works. And then, of course, we always want to be answering any questions that you might have. Please help us spread the word. We could use a few more volunteers. And so if you have access to PTO or PTA groups at all, we could use a few more volunteers. We need thinking partners, which I'll be describing for you in a little bit. And we need those thinking partners for both our virtual session and our in-person session. And those are just folks who are going to talk to you about your projects. And we'll kind of go through that and show you how they might be looking at your project and questions they might be asking. But we also need all kinds of logistical support. So we need people to help us with the registration table, support the participants as you guys are setting up and breaking down in our two different sessions, and then filling out our t-shirt forms. So and then if you're interested, there's the link to be able to do that. So let's talk upcoming dates. Unless you have registered this week, you should have already received 2 newsletters from our office. Actually, it says STEM Expo at U46.org. April 22nd, we will send out a final, kind of confirmation reminding you of your time that you're going to be presenting, and then all the other information that you need. So what time should you arrive, those kinds of things. And then we have Mr. Spellman helping out our virtual folks. So if you don't mind explaining that to everybody, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our virtual STEM Expo participants, what we will do, very similar to last year, is that I'm going to be offering Zoom tech runs, and that's going to be April the 25th through the 29th that week. So if you want to set up a time, you'll just click that link below where you can check my availability to schedule the tech run. Now, you don't necessarily have to have your entire presentation completed by the tech run date that you select. However, if you just have a part of it completed, that's perfectly fine. Just want to make sure that you're able to share your screen. If you have any videos embedded in your presentation, I want to make sure that those run smoothly and properly. And we can talk about any tech specifics that any tech questions that you may have as it relates to your virtual presentation. That will be set for 30 minutes. In the event, I did have a couple of students that scheduled virtual tech run earlier on, and then maybe a day before the actual expo, they wanted to kind of run through it again just to make sure that they were had everything going well, still had their videos playing, had finished their presentation, just wanted to kind of complete a dry run. You can also schedule one of those as well. So I'm more than happy to do multiple tech runs with you all. Like I said, if you do need, if you would like extra time to complete a tech run, my suggestion would be to schedule probably earlier on, like maybe the 25th or 26th, and then we can schedule your second or third tech run like on the 28th or 29th. So just want to throw that option out there as well.
Yeah, and those were really, really helpful. Last year it was very, especially videos. Like if you're going to have any kind of video to show, it's really going to be beneficial to do those tech runs. I'll be sending out an email tomorrow to all the students so far who are signed up virtually, and I will have this link. So you can access this link to sign up in the slide deck that we've already presented you on this slide, or you'll get an email from me. It'll actually come from me and not the STEM Expo tomorrow with this information.
And Ms. Debbie, let me just add one more thing. I know we had a couple of students last year. They were a little shy, so they didn't want to actually present their presentation the day of. So what they did was record their presentation. Are the students still able to do that this year?
Yes, they are. Thank you for reminding us.
All right, so perfect. So if you do decide to record your presentation and just play it, my suggestion would be record it using Zoom, like we're recording this session now. And you'll get a link from Zoom after you complete it. You'll download that link, and then we can just play it like you're playing a YouTube video, or you're playing a movie on your computer. So that's also an option as well. I can also help you set that up if you do need assistance with that too.
Yes, perfect. And so then how that would work for you guys, and this is, I'm so glad that you mentioned this because I would have forgot to talk about this, but would have you play your presentation, and then we would still want to ask you questions. So you have your video down, and then you have your wonderful face showing, and then we'd ask you questions and you would answer them. So that part is really important. We just love to talk to you guys about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So that part would still exist. So glad you reminded us of that. All right.
There are a couple questions.
Sure.
Is asking what time should online presenters log on to the Zoom? Will we cover that later on? Or
we will. Yes, we will.
How many kids are in the program?
Okay. So I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna ballpark right now. We have, to my knowledge, when I looked today, we had probably 68 individual projects and then another 20 team projects. And so a team would be 2 or more students. So right now we've got, about 80 projects or so. That is a little bit lower than years past. Normally we have a couple hundred projects. Last year, I know in the virtual STEM Expo that we did, we had about 60 projects being done virtually. So, and people can still register. So if you've got friends that are on the fence and they're thinking about wanting to present and participate in this, we'll give you the links and please encourage them to join us. And then, I hope I answered that question. I don't have those numbers solid in my head. I should, I just looked at it today, but I don't remember exact. So it's a rough estimate of what we've got. All right. Well, one of the things that's really important to us as a team is that you get feedback for your project. And so what that looks like is smiley adults like this, and this actually is Melissa Owens. She's one of our school board members. They have a set of questions and a rubric, and they come and talk to you at your table. And they ask you, and this works for the virtual as well. You do your presentation, and then they ask you a variety of questions, because again, we're really interested in what you're thinking and how you're thinking it. And so if you wanted to practice, one thing you could do is click on these 2 links. So this link is going to take you, and I do recommend that you do this, have somebody maybe ask you some of these questions. And at the bottom, it says prompt for students. And so these are some of the questions that might get asked of you. And so one thing you could do in preparation is ask a family member or a friend or a teacher to ask you some of these questions so you can practice. And then in this system here, this is where we rate you. We're a standard-based district. And so here's how you get rated based on, your project overall. And I'll talk, well, actually, I think Miss Frankie is going to talk about that in a minute. But the other thing, the other document looks the same, but this is just what the official feedback looks like. So this is what it's going to look like that you're going to get. So every time one of our thinking partners comes and talks to you, they are going to leave behind one of these forms. And they're also going to put a sticker on your board. Now, the reason we put the stickers on the board is not to deface your board. And if you really don't want us to put the stickers on there, we can put them someplace else. Just guide them to where you want those put. But the reason we do that is we want you to get at least 3 mentors in your time, 3 people to come talk to you. And so visually that just helps our mentors and our thinking partners see who's had somebody talking to them and who hasn't, because we want to make sure everybody gets at least 3. So just so you know, we'll be doing that. Now, for those of you that are doing this virtually, it'll look very much like this. So let's pretend that Mr. Spellman is the presenter. In the room with you, you'd be presenting. There'd be a couple of us in there listening. You'll see our faces because we'll have our video going. And then when the presentation is over, then we would ask questions, much like you see us talking right now as panelists. So that's how that part works. But the bottom line is you are going to get immediate feedback from caring, friendly, science-oriented community people. And it's not meant to be intimidating. It's meant to actually mirror the scientific process. So I'm a scientist, I'm a limnologist, I study freshwater. Whenever I do any kind of work and I put my work forward, I give it to other peers and I ask them for their feedback. And so that's kind of what this is. This is just an opportunity for you to get feedback around your work. Did I miss anything on that, Miss Frankie, or?
Nope, there's a question from Abhinav, and Abhinav, I hope I'm saying your name right. I know you're one of Mrs. McNally's students, and she had mentioned your name to me. He's asking if he participates online or submits a video of the presentation, how will they answer his visitors thinking partners questions? So the way that's going to work is when you submit your video, you will still be there. Just as Ms. McMullen is showing the slide deck right now, you would be showing your video. And then when it stops, you'll be able to get your feedback. Am I correct in that?
Yep, that's absolutely correct. So once the video is over, I believe you have judges, right? The judges will ask questions. You'll come on camera. The judges will ask you questions, give you feedback on your project. And that's pretty much how that works. Yep.
Yeah, and so you'll actually be able to speak like we are. And so you'll literally be able to have a little conversation. It's just a little bit odd because there'll be other people watching, potentially other people watching. And so that might, just so you know. Looks like there was another question, or did we answer that guy? Did we answer?
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we wanted to provide you guys with the feedback information so that, again, you can practice it, you can incorporate this, and just to let you know that there will be people coming to ask you questions. All right, so Frankie,
what to expect for the STEM Expo. First of all, for those of you that are in person, this is for the students that are coming in to participate on that morning. For the first group, there is an 8 o'clock check-in, and then 8:45, the teams will begin sharing the work with the visitors that come in. So you'll have your mentors come in, or your thinking partners, as well as visitors coming in at 8:45. And then your breakdown is at 10 a.m. So you'll be there for about 2 hours. You'll be talking to your mentors or your thinking partners for about an hour and 15 minutes. And then, so breakdown is at 10 o'clock, so you can leave at that point, or you can stay and you can check out the students that are in group 2. So the second session then begins at 10 a.m. Students begin sharing at 10:45. and then breakdown will be at noon, and everybody will be done at that point. Anything else as far as that goes, Deb, the schedule?
Well, I was just thinking too, group 2, you're also invited. You could come a little early.
Mhm.
And if you wanted to see some other student projects, you could come a little bit early in the group 1 timeframe. Would be the only other thing I was wondering.
Okay, there's a question from Samantha asking if we will get the slide presentation you're on. Yes, the slide presentation. Did we add it to this?
Yeah, maybe we need to re-edit.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
we can
drop in
re-add
the
it.
chat. If she
Thank
joins
you.
after you
Thank you.
dropped it, then she wouldn't see it. So great question.
Okay, great.
One quick thing. I know last year we sent out the presentation template to the students.
Yes.
Is that in the presentation yet?
Yes, we are gonna get there. Yes,
Okay.
there is to support you guys. There is a template for virtual, and then there's a template for in person, and we're gonna share those. And also, you may have already gotten those from Miss Sarah Rodriguez Horn when in part of those newsletters. But yep, we've got the template for you, and we are going to share that for you in a second. Yeah.
So there's a question about, are these times for virtual or in person? The times that were just stated, those are the in-person one. Here's the virtual. So now we'll talk about virtual. So the student or teams that are signed up for virtual for the 9 to 9:20 time slot, 8:45 is when you will do your final check-in with Mr. Spellman. And then at 8:55, you'll load your Zoom, and 9 o'clock, you'll be welcomed by one of the U46 science staff. And then at 9:03 to 9:13, you're going to do your presentation. And then from 9:13 to 9:19, judges are able to ask questions and provide feedback for you. And then at 9:19, the students and any invited guests are removed from the breakout room and back into the main room. And then the Zoom event is finished for you.
Do you want to describe the green room a little bit, Mr. Spellman? Like what? So that's a separate link. You're going to get 2 links. So you'll get a 20-minute time. Every student that's virtual will get a 20-minute time slot. You will also get 2 Zoom links, one to the green room and one for your presentation webinar.
Yep, absolutely. So the green room is designed for you all to stop by the day of your presentation, and just again to check, make sure that it's kind of like a very quick tech check to make sure your cameras are working, to make sure that your microphone's working, to answer any questions that you have around the tech, and again, make sure your videos are working. And so what I'll do, I think I did it last year, is that once your green room check is done, I'll drop a link in the chat box for you to just directly connect to the to your actual presentation session.
And so that's one thing that our virtual students you guys haven't done yet, but you'll be getting a piece of information. You'll be getting an email that's going to ask you which 20-minute time slot on that day you want to sign up for. And so the idea is you'll get a 20-minute time slot. Prior to that 20-minute time slot, you'll go in, you'll do a green room check. You'll come over to the webinar to do your presentation. You'll be ready to go. You'll finish that, and then you're done in those 20 minutes. You're welcome then. We'll promote somebody in a minute, but we'll put you back into a participant. And then once you're back in the participant, you're welcome to stay and watch the other students' presentations, or you can be done, whichever works for you. You'll also, with that same link that you're given, you could come. So if your presentation is at noon and you want to see the other virtual students, you can use that same link. You'd come in as an attendee, just as you are now. And then when it's time to promote you, we're looking through the list of attendees to promote you. Would this be a good time to try that now, you think, guys, or should we go ahead and get through the whole thing and then try? Should we get through the whole thing
now? Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to try. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if one of you wouldn't mind raising your hand, who would be willing to be promoted so that we can show everybody how this works? If you wouldn't mind raising your hand. Promoted means that you're going to be a panelist like us, and we'll see your camera. Somebody ran away. You don't have to. We're just wondering if there's anyone who'd be willing. If you're not, it's okay. Okay. Doesn't look like anyone, no takers right now. Maybe there'll be more takers as we keep going. Okay. It's a very simple process.
You have a taker now.
I have a taker. Okay. So all I'm doing, thank you for being so brave. Okay. So we're going to promote you to panelist. And then that will bring you in. And then we change you to making you a co-host. And so now you'd be able to turn on your mic, you'd be able to turn on your camera, and you'd be able to screen share. And if you want to do those things, you can.
So, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I actually have a question. I am currently registered as a virtual participant. Is it possible I could change that to in person?
Yep.
Okay.
While you're on here, am I saying your name correctly?
It's Abhinav.
Abhinav. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that was a great example. And what we're gonna do now is, oh, I can't. Can I do it?
All right. But
Let's see. Oh, Miss Debbie's gonna have to do it. Who's the host?
sorry, my doorbell rang and my dogs went crazy. So, okay, yes, so it's totally possible. And I'll put my email in the chat. If you could email me tomorrow and remind me, then we can do that for you. All right, so then to put you back to a panelist, all we do is remove.
Not
Remove.
removed.
Where I don't see it on here.
Should I leave and rejoin?
No, I think we can.
Yeah, which
Why?
is weird because, oh, here it is. Let's see, change role to attendee. There it is. I got it.
You got it. Why don't I have it?
Because so at first you had him as a co-host.
Oh,
And so because he's a co-host, you can't change the role. So what I'll do, boom, there we go.
okay. That is exactly why we have Mr. to help us with all of these little things so it goes smooth. And thank you so much for volunteering and doing that. But that's as easy as it's going to work. So if you are doing virtual, you'll be an attendee. We'll look through the list. We'll see your name. We'll promote you during your time. And then you'll do your presentation and then we'll move you back. But that's all there is to it. That's exactly how this will work. Yeah. So, all right. You ready for the next one?
Next slide, please. Okay. So this is the important thing about our STEM Expo. It is an exposition. It's not a contest. So we're not going to say you are a first place winner and you are our second place winner. It's not a contest. The judges are more like thinking partners to help you grow as a scientist. It's not focused necessarily on plan and conduct experiment. You can conduct an experiment, but it does not have to be an experiment. You can share with us something that you have observed. And I think we have later on, we have some examples of that. So it does not have to be a plan and conduct. So you're going to showcase what you figured out as you were involved in the science that you were involved in. Maybe it's something about that you noticed one day as you were riding the bus home from school, a phenomenon that you're interested in. And you're going to make connections to the NGSS standards. So the STEM Expo registration, wait, what is, okay, Deb, this part right here, STEM Expo registration link.
Well, if you want the links, we have those further. So if you still aren't registered and you're not sure, we'll provide you with those links. Sorry, that was worded weird.
Okay. And then there is a STEM Expo information sheet, and that's for the adults that are supporting the participants. So if you are a parent, you can take a look through that sheet and you can use that to help support your student. And then the STEM Expo project graphic organizer. So do you want to click on that so that they can take a look at it? So this is going to help the students to take a look at the thing that they are interested in and think about it scientifically. What is your claim or phenomenon? Now, a phenomenon is just an event that happens in nature that you look at and you say, oh, I wonder what's up with that. It could be a puddle that's drying up. It could be going out every night and watching the moon and seeing that it changes throughout the month. So the claim or your phenomenon is where you're going to begin. And then from there, you're going to come up with a question that you are then going to investigate. And as far as investigating, it could be more observations. You're going to do some more observations. It could be doing some research. You might do some experiments that are going to lead you to collect evidence. So that you'll talk about your evidence, and you'll also include the resources that you use to help investigate your questions. So this is the one that will be used by those of you that are in person. It can also be used by those of you that are virtual as well. But there is a more specific slide show for virtual students.
And I just wanted to also mention that it could also be solving a problem. So right here, when you get here, you wouldn't necessarily, if you're solving a problem, you're not necessarily using this top box, but you can also work to solve a problem. And so then you would start here, just to be kind of clear about that. And yep, so you're right. We'll go to the next thing so we can start showing them the other resources.
And this is the slide deck for the virtual presentations. And so it begins with your title page, and you'll notice that it said first name only. So when you are presenting, your presentation is going to be recorded. And so we only want you to have your first name there rather than first and last. So these are the pages, and I'm not going to read through each of them for you. You can take a look and see, but it begins with your title. And then you're going to check off here either what is your claim, what is your phenomenon, or what is your question. And it says there you can do it in bullet points. You can write it out in paragraph form, whichever you prefer.
This is anything that's blue, you can type in. Yes, you can personalize this. You could, if you wanted to just use this as a format and create this on your own, you can totally do that. But we just have this template here for you. You can fill it in, fill in the blue parts as possible or as shown, or you can personalize it if you want. It's just meant to, when you click through these, you're like Ms. Valencia said, these are the information that we'd like to have you see in your presentation. It's meant to guide you for your virtual presentation.
Yeah. Yes. So these are the things that we'll want you to talk about as you are presenting to your thinking partners and the others that come to watch you do your presentation. Okay. Anything else? And then in person, were the boards sent out to all of the schools already? Okay, so you should have received your boards. I know that we've had some calls from parents more recently in the last couple of days, and so those boards are being sent out. But you'll receive your board if you have not already done so. And this form here tells you what you're going to include on that board. Again, you're going to have a title and first name only for this as well. Again, you'll start with your claim, phenomenon, question, and then you'll talk about the science and engineering practices and the cross-cutting concepts. And there's links on this document to tell you a little bit more about that. You'll have your data or your evidence that you collected, the connections that you're making. Yeah. Okay. All right. The question was, there is a question, and it's a very good question. It says, when will we get our group assignments, such as you are in group 1 or you are in group 2?
So actually you selected when you registered that you selected which group you wanted to be in. And so we'll be sending out a confirmation email April 22nd that reminds you which group you're in. But if you wanted to know ahead of time, just email me and I can double check that for you. I'll put my email in the chat. It looks like we have another question that came up too.
Are we going to be able to see this document?
Yes. So all of these documents, that's why.
I think this is a new participant.
Okay.
So let me add it again to the,
Yeah, so all of these documents are in the slide deck. And also, if you go back through the emails that you get from STEM Expo at U46.org, in those 2 newsletters, all of this information is also in there. But this slide deck might be the fastest way. But yeah, you can look back through those too.
okay, I added it again.
Thank you.
It is linked there. And then the documents that we just opened, all of those documents are linked to this document. So you should not have a problem.
And then here's, just for one more time, here's all of the documents that might use a graphic organizer, the slide deck template for presenting if you're doing virtual. And then there's some more information sheets for parents if they need those. If at any time though, you don't, hey, I need this, I need that document that helps me do my board, just email us and we will be happy to get that information to you, really quickly. All right. Why don't we stop there for a second and see if there are, I'm going to go ahead and put my email in here. Are there any other questions right now that you guys have about the expo? Does anybody need help with anything in particular? Here's my email address. Oh, how long do you have to present? Okay, so if you are doing this virtually, you will present for, your time slot is 20 minutes, but your presentation is 10 if you're in virtual. If you're in person, I would do the same kind of plan. It'll be about 10 minutes or so. The only thing that's different virtually, you'll only present one time. In person, you'll be talking that full 1 hour and 15 minutes with visitors about your project. You'll get questions from their thinking partner judges. So you may be telling your story a few times over and over. So there's not necessarily in person, there's not necessarily a time, but I would definitely practice about a 10-minute presentation that you kind of start and stop, if that makes sense. Yeah, the in-person part's a little different than virtual. Any other questions that you guys have right now? Can it be on anything? It's such a great question. Yes, your project can be on anything. And so let's talk about that for a second. We've gone through and shown you a couple of examples. So I guess maybe this is a perfect segue for that. Let's go back to this. We would love for you to look out into the world and see something that you're very interested in. So for example, you might notice that the moon was really bright and it looked like it was cut in half. And you might have a question as to why does it look that way? Your project could be about explaining that scientific phenomenon. You could also pick a project that you want to make observations about, but maybe you don't have the equipment or the time to go stand out. So let's say that your question is how do baby birds tell their parents that they're hungry? You might decide to use YouTube videos that you find where you can make observations about that question and then share what you learned as your project. You might decide that you want to solve a problem. So, in the fall here in Elgin anyway, and you're all from different communities, so I'm not sure what all the rules are for leaves in all of your communities, but here in Elgin, the people sweep all of their leaves into the street. And so maybe you have a question about whether or not that is the best way to deal with the leaves. And so then you might decide to investigate some different ways that we could take care of leaves, or the impact of those leaves, or solving a problem about how the leaves, when they break down, they add nutrients. So those would be all things. You could, let's see, what were some of the, if you go to this slide, this phenomenon and these 2 pages will have some more ideas for you. But I'm trying to think of all of the projects we had last year. So last year we had somebody who built a solar powered wind like a generator. We had somebody studying the impact of large objects on the moon. And so they did this really cool study with different sized objects and dropped them in flour to determine their impact on a surface. What were some of the, we had somebody do, we had a student do a project solely on, she was really passionate about recycling. And so she wanted to know what she could recycle in her community and what she couldn't. And she did it more like a little infomercial of what she found out about where does the material go? Is there really an impact with recycling? Is it really, all that it's everyone says it is? Is it really that effective? What were the other ones? We were all in different rooms. So we were all in different rooms watching different projects. I'm trying to remember all of we had somebody build a robot. They built like a robotic arm. That was really cool. What were some other projects? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, they were good. But if you go through this resource, we have different, so we also have some steps. So if you're still kind of not sure, if you walk through the rest of these slides, they're going to give you some more ideas on how to do your project, how to start your project, what different science and engineering practices are that you might use. And so the rest of these slides are meant for you as a resource to help you with your thinking. Aside from that, though, we have had students email our team and say, hey, I've got these 3 ideas for a project. Which one do you think would work best? And we actually Zoomed with a couple students and just kind of talked through that with them. Of course, that was before we were back in person, and now you guys are more scheduled again, right? But we could definitely do that. You could email us and we could work through a couple projects. I think the one thing that it's okay to do this, it's totally okay to do this, but what we'd maybe like to avoid, you could Google, science STEM fair projects. You could totally do that and you'll come up with some projects. But we would really love for you to just look around your community and look around the world and look for something that you really want to answer and you're really wondering about. And then teach others through your project about that phenomenon. That would be what we would really love to see. Did I answer your question? And do we have any more questions? It's looking like we don't have too many more questions. Okay, so we answered the question. Okay. Yes, you're welcome. Anything else? Okay, it's okay. Hopefully, through watching this, we've helped explain a little bit about the process. You know more what to expect. You got the slide deck of different tools. Don't forget to also practice the feedback questions so you're ready for those. I will say that sometimes I feel like sometimes those stun students and parents who are listening, and guardians who are listening, it's really good if you also practice that with them. Practice those questions because they sometimes freeze. They sometimes freeze. And if you are in person, parents are encouraged to kind of stick around. But what we would ask is that you let your student describe the project and do the presentation, but it's totally okay to prompt them if you see that they're sort of freezing up a little bit, because we know it's a little intimidating to have lots of new faces, asking you questions. And same thing as Mr. Spellman said about recording. If you think doing a presentation like this, you do better if it was recorded and then just do the answering part. That's perfectly fine. We just want you to be comfortable. You guys think of anything else?
Miss Debbie, I'm going to drop my email address in the chat for them if they have any questions. I remember last year, because I don't have a U46
Oh, right.
email, I had to tag you on all of the scheduling, so I'll do that
Yes.
again this year. So you all may
Perfect.
receive 2 invites, one from me, I think one from Miss Debbie, because she had to send it out. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. That's a good
But
reminder.
that's it for me. Thank you.
Cool. For in-person, yes, for in-person, you can bring your laptop. We will tell you that there are limited electric outlets. So one of the questions as we start going through this is figuring out, who needs electricity, and so that we can place you. Also, if you have some really cool thing that you're doing and it's super messy, like let's say you're going to put Mentos in a pop bottle, please film that and just show us that. Don't also, don't start any fires. We're just thinking of past years. We're just thinking about past years. Think through those kind of things and video something that might be really messy or kind of dangerous. Because the last thing we want to do is tell a kid, I'm sorry, but you can't do that. And you plan to do that as your whole demonstration. So anything that's kind of messy or potentially like has fire or something like that, we would appreciate you videoing that and then you're taking pictures of it so that people can see it. And so having a laptop there is fine. When should I decide if I want to do in-person or virtual? So Joel, it will help us if you can make that decision we want to send out confirmations to people by the 22nd. Honestly, we can be pretty fluid with that. And so if you decided the day before that you had to be virtual, we could do that. The only thing is you probably won't get a choice of time slot then. So that would be the only thing that might happen is time slot. But
right now, when you signed up, you made the decision, right? Already.
Yes.
So if there's a change, then you could email and
yeah, just email us and we can change that for you. I'm going to put my email in there again. But yeah, we can fix that so you can do whichever one you want. So whatever email you registered with is the only email we have. And so that is when, the emails or that's who it's getting sent to. So if you used your student email, then that's where all the information is going. And so that does create problems sometimes for parents or guardians because it's in the student's email and the parent is like, I know nothing, I have no information. So if it's a situation where you want to make sure, like maybe you have a kindergartner or something and you want to make sure that you get the information, use my email, send it to me, and we'll adjust the email that's in our registration form because whatever email you registered with is the email we used for all of our communication. My mom did not get a link to the presentation and her email is registered. Okay, that's really weird. Let me get my journal, Samantha, and I'll write that. And when I get to the office tomorrow, I'll double check that. Maybe sometimes they don't get entered right, and so sometimes there's a bounce back. And so let me do it this way. Samantha, can you send a message just to, not to everyone, but change it to hosts and panelists so it only comes to us? And can you put your mom's email in there? Because I'm worried the email's wrong and then I'm not going to be able to find you. So if you could send me, a chat or an email to my email of your mom, the corrected email, and we'll make sure that it was entered right and that we will fix that. So with your name and then your parents' email. Go ahead, Frankie.
Also a question. There's also a question about asking, will you send an email about the time slot for virtual presentations?
Yes, we are going to be sending that out. And so what it will be is, I'm unable to answer that, how that's going to be. I think it's going to be a Google Doc that you will select your time, is how we're going to do it. So it'll be kind of a first come, first serve. And actually, it makes sense that I would send that out with the links to Mr. Spellman's chat. So how about if you guys expect that tomorrow from me, the people who are virtual. So if you're thinking about doing virtual, you might want to make that decision just so you have your time, unless you don't care what time slot you have, unless that's not important to you. Samantha. Sorry, I'm just writing in my journal this email, make sure I get this right. I'm sorry, I'm not answering that question right away. I'm not sure what Miss Sarah had in mind, so I'll just take care of that tomorrow. She got the t-shirt email, but not the presentation. Oh, weird. Okay, we'll make sure that you are caught up on all of the emails. We'll make sure that we get all of those to the right email address. My apologies, that's really weird. We'll get that fixed. Was there any other questions in there? You guys have had some really good questions. The t-shirts are cool, so make sure you sign up and get your t-shirt size into us. You're gonna like them. We should actually send one to Mr. Spellman. I did not get the virtual presentation. Right, the t-shirts are, and they're really cute this year, isn't it? Didn't we do what's up with that this year? We changed it up.
Yes, yes, I think that's what, yeah.
JS, can you send me in, again, just to the host and panelists, could you send me the email that you want us to use? And then if you wouldn't mind, your first name and last name. And then again, I'm putting it in my journal, so tomorrow I'll get these fixed. And then meanwhile, do we have any other questions? It looks like maybe we're wrapping it up. Is one of our participants the son of one of our judges, Van? Is Van's son in here? Maybe not. Okay. I was gonna try and make see if Van would come in here. Okay. So let's see. And then okay, I should be able to find you. All right, so we'll get everybody caught up on those emails. I apologize. Also check your spam, because that does happen sometimes, because we're sending out emails like to hundreds of people, and so that can happen. All right, if there's no further questions, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Frankie and Deshawn for coming and being here tonight and helping us make sure this happens. So, and then I want to thank all of our attendees. So thanks, you guys. Couple weeks, 15, what is it? How many days do we have? How many days do we have to go? 18 days, 18 days. So it'll be fun. All right. Well, thanks you guys so much. We appreciate it. And we'll be posting this on our YouTube channel and so that you can see the recording. And meanwhile, we'll take care also of all the book, the bookends that we've got to fix. So anything else, Miss Valencia?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Nice to work with you today.
Yes. Email us if you need us. We'll help you. All right. Okay. Bye, everybody.